Practicing Buddhism doesn't just start when you sit down on your meditation pillow and end when you get up. It doesn't start when you walk into a Buddhist temple and end when you leave. Practicing Buddhism is something that you do from the moment you wake up till the moment you go to sleep. I kind of think of it more as carrying around a toolbox all day long, from which you can pull out tools to help you through the day, all day long, every day. So I'll start with waking up in the morning. I think I'm not alone that when I wake up in the morning, it's nice and warm under the covers, it's cold out in the house, and I can clearly see this little angel sitting on one shoulder, just saying, okay, Scott, come on, get out of bed, have a nice productive day. You can do it, you can exercise, get on the elliptical machine. And then the little devil over here is saying, now, God, it's just so nice and warm, blow it off, stay in bed, all that stuff can wait, don't worry about it. And it's a back and forth struggle with, oh God, I really should get up, versus, oh, it's just, I really want to just go back to sleep. And that kind of struggle of, should I or shouldn't I? And oh God, what a failure I am because I'm still in bed here. And then I catch myself doing this every morning. And I say to myself, it's really not I really shouldn't be thinking in terms of should. Every time I say the word should, I think of my teacher kind of figuratively smacking me up top of my head to break me of that habit. Because there really isn't any shoulding about it. It's more, whatever you do, it's okay. You just have to you have to accept the consequences of whichever choice you make. I can either get out of bed, have a nice productive day, and then I will accept the karma of that action. If I stay in bed and just relax, that's okay too. I'll just stay put and accept the karma for that action too. So removing the should from the equation actually makes the decision a lot less painful at any rate. It doesn't necessarily make it easier, but it makes it a little bit less agonizing. If I do this, if I take action A, I will reap karma A. If I take action B, I will reap karma B. It's not a right or wrong, it's not a good or bad, it's just the way it works, cause and effect, or karma. But I have to remind myself as I'm agonizing that either choice is okay. It's not something to beat myself up about. Then as the day progresses, I finally wrestle myself out of bed, and I'm brushing my teeth, doing my morning routine in front of the mirror, and I notice that now at age 60, I don't look like the same person I used to be. The years are marching on, and that can be kind of a depressing thought, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm still the same person I was when I was in my 30s, many lifetimes ago. Can be kind of a bummer of a thought. And then I have to pull another tool out of my toolbox and reflect on impermanence. Everything changes, and you have to make a decision whether you just go with it and accept it or let it bother you. It's a choice. There's no right or wrong, but it's a choice that we have to make. And it's the kind of thing where you can just decide not to let it bother you because that's the way it is. And I'll reflect on the 5 remembrances. I will get old. There's no way to avoid that. I will get sick. I will die eventually. Everything that I cherish will be taken away from me. And that's just the way things work. And not to accept that is only to cause more suffering for myself. So I decide to just accept that the only thing that really exists is this very present moment. The past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist, just this very moment exists. And when I find that tool in my toolbox of accepting impermanence and being in the moment, I usually feel great gratitude, and that's certainly a much better feeling. Then as the day progresses, another common thing that happens to me is I find myself sinking, that kind of sinking feeling that sometimes grabs us throughout the course of the day, where thoughts from the past will try and get a hold of our consciousness and kind of just take over and drag us down. It could be regrets about the past, or resentments, or worry about the future. All kinds of thoughts can crop up, and do throughout the course of the entire day. You can't really stop them. They just seem to pop up whenever they want to and drag you down. But you can catch them, and you can just observe them, and that's the key. Just observe them. That the tool you pull out of your toolbox for this is mindfulness. And you just take a step back and you just watch them, you observe them, and you'll notice that the thoughts lose their power. And as they lose their power, that's actually a really good feeling, which further causes them to lose more power. And it's a virtuous cycle. Mindfulness is something where you can catch thoughts, nip them in the bud, and just look at them and say, those are just thoughts. Why am I doing this to myself? I'm not going to push them away. I'm just going to watch them, see them for what they are, and their power will diminish just automatically by virtue of the fact that I'm taking a step back and observing them. So again, the day marches on, and there are the inevitable challenges through the day, some big, some small. And one can get bogged down in doing the right thing, right versus wrong, good versus bad. And taking that approach, while it may work, it's judgmental. And along with that, you'll find that trying to deal with the ideas of good and bad, right and wrong, really kind of pull you down. Being judgmental never is a really uplifting experience. So the tool that I pull out of my toolbox for this one throughout the course of the day is really the antidote to the three poisons of anger, greed, or attachment, and ignorance. The flip side of that, the antidote to those three poisons, are compassion, non-attachment or contentment, and wisdom. So when confronted by challenges throughout the day, instead of getting into picking up the old tools of what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, I grabbed the tool of the antidote to these three poisons. Wholesome thinking is another way that they're referred to. Wholesome mental states. And I say to myself, what would arise from compassion? What would the action I would take that arises from compassion, contentment, and wisdom? And sometimes I'll put myself in my shoes of the future me and say to myself, looking back on this, if I do such and such, will I think to myself that, that was the compassionate, the content, and the wise thing to do? Again, just a way to kind of get you through those challenges of the day. If your choice turns out to be the right one, that's great. If the choice turns out to be the wrong one, that's okay too. At least in making the decision, you were relying on the wholesome three mental states, or the antidotes to the three poisons, which is a big and very helpful tool in my toolbox. And then another part of the day, one of my favorites, is quiet time. Quiet time when I sit down on my pillow, or just sit wherever I am, or just be wherever I am, and practice mindfulness. I try to meditate for 30 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be on my pillow, it doesn't have to be indoors, it could be outdoors, anywhere, walking, driving, whatever you're doing, you can be in a mindful state and be in a meditative state. And it's good to practice. Mindfulness is something that, at least for me, I flatter myself to think that I'm mindful for more than a few minutes every day. But I find it reassuring that I know that tool is in my toolbox when I need it. When I feel those thoughts trying to, suck me down and kind of take the driver's seat, I know I can grab that tool of mindfulness and see them for what they are, and watch them just kind of lose their power, which is a wonderful feeling. It takes practice though, so daily meditation is just a good way to exercise that tool, to sharpen it, to kind of keep it at the forefront of your mind. Finally, at the end of the day, bedtime. Having abandoned ideas of doing the right thing or the wrong thing, doing good versus bad, having abandoned thinking in terms of should or shouldn't, having abandoned thinking of the past, dwelling in the past, or worrying about the future, I will sleep well tonight.